Welcome to this video. It's been a couple of weeks since I've done a live feed, or maybe not that long. But look, I'm just doing an impromptu live feed this morning or this evening, wherever you are in the world, to speak to the power of love and wholeness. Yeah, to speak to the role that this plays in our lives and how we can grow profoundly from embracing a posturing of love and wholeness. I've been very blessed in many respects in my life to experience the contrast of existence, the contrast of being connected, and what being connected means. And being connected means being able to move from a place of immense love and affection and truth, and to then move and transcend into a place of sometimes pain and fear. So we're looking at the contrasting ends of what life actually means. And when we're able to sit and be in the pain, in the fear, in the difficulty, in the challenge, and when we are equally able to sit in the love and the adoration and the affection and the bliss and the beauty of life. In fact, that is the beauty of life, to be able to sit in contrast, and it's an ever-evolving lesson for me, and I feel that it's an ever-evolving lesson for humanity. I've also been deeply blessed to experience the acknowledgement of our experiences and the acknowledgement of what we feel and how we move through life allows us to actualize and really solidify the teachings and the wisdoms that come from the experiences that we have and the experiences that we're able to share with ourselves, our own journey, our soul, and of course the path and the journey of others as well. The others, the significant others that are in our lives, which really are extensions of ourselves and who we are. So if you're just coming on, place a number 1 in the comment box so I'll know that you're here. And we're really opening up a brief conversation to love. And what is love? Love is firstly deeply undefinable, and to experience love we must experience the fullness and the wholeness of life. And what happens is we really avoid experiences that are painful, and we really avoid experiences that hurt us, that we don't align with perhaps. Now, alignment's interesting. I had a question earlier on awakening and what awakening means, what it means to be awakened. And I sat there and I felt into that question for a while. I felt into the power of that question and what it could possibly symbolize and signify in our lives to awaken. And the way I responded to that was, awakening is a journey, and awakening is a way of being, and it's a choice that we make. It's a choice to recognize the states that we are in, or a state that we are in, and then to transition from one state to another, because states are transient and they're not permanent. And as we transition and move through one state to another, we awaken to the teachings and the wisdom that come from that experience, from acknowledging that experience, from fortifying the value. So acknowledgement fortifies the value of an experience. And then, of course, the awakening process or the awakening journey is really a journey of realization that this state no longer serves us, and we can move from one state to another. And that's the awakening. It's the grasping or the attainment of knowledge and wisdom and gnosis from one state to another. And effectively, that is wholeness. When we're able to learn and grow from our experiences, we become whole, irrespective of what those experiences are, irrespective of how we relate to those experiences initially. But the more consciously we can relate to those experiences with greater awareness, we can then awaken to the power and the value of those experiences. And that becomes our power, that becomes our growth, that becomes our transformation. So we begin then to move through wholeness in a very different way. We begin to move through life, in a very different way, and we relate to wholeness and love in a very different way. And we go back to that question, what is love? Love is being open to everything that is occurring in the here and the now, irrespective of how it makes us feel. So we're open to the feelings. We're open to the way our bodies are reacting. Our bodies are a magnificent vessel for growth. Our bodies are a magnificent vessel for transformation. Our bodies are a magnificent divine vessel for realization, actualization, and awakening. And that's the power that our bodies hold. Now, when we integrate our minds and our hearts with our bodies, we begin to really transmute and transform the way we then move through life and the way that others are able to perceive us. And if others perceive us differently, they will respond or interact with us differently. Let's sit with that for a moment. You see, there comes an opportunity, there comes a time in life when it's necessary to actually be with everything we are experiencing and to cease to ignore the fullness of who we are, to cease to ignore and to not fragment the parts of us that we think are no good for us. See, we cannot actually know what is healthy for us and what is authentic for us without immersing into that experience. And what we tend to do as a society, as a collective and as an individual, is we are averse to experiencing painful or hurtful experiences, but there is so much growth in that. And when we ignore, we fragment and we break off parts of ourselves. So if we're fragmented, by default, we are not whole. And that's the power there. Can we remain in the wholeness? Can we remain in the spectrum of experience? Can we be with the joy, and can we be with the pain? Can we be with the fear, and can we be with bliss? That's our power as a human. Now, guess what? Guess what allows us to feel viscerally, aesthetically? It's our bodies. Our bodies allow us to experience the fullness of life. Our bodies allow us to interact with our environment. Our bodies are the conduit for growth, transformation, and awakening. And in that space, we realize something we've never realized before. That what we choose to pay attention to, and if we choose to pay attention to everything that we can, in other words, we make a conscious choice to be with the experiences that we choose to bring into our lives, so we are more conscious of those experiences, we realize that wholeness is not elusive. It's not something that we're continually chasing. It's something that is present within us right here and right now. And love, the undefinable word, four-letter word love, becomes somewhat definable when we immerse in wholeness. That's our power, is the immersion into wholeness. The immersion into, at times, those very dark places, but equally the light places as well. There is value in all of it. There is value in everything we choose to experience and everything we choose to be. And when we recognize that there's deep value, we recognize that intrinsic, immense value in life, we grow. We connect, we unify, we feel significance, we exude significance, because we realize that within ourselves we are magnificently significant. Now imagine that for a moment. Imagine movement and motion through life that allows us to feel completely significant simply by staying or remaining present with the wholeness of who we are, with every experience we have, every experience we are exposed to, and imagine then for a moment immersion or a deep dive into wholeness. Now, part of wholeness, again, is that contrasted experience of darkness, of the unknown, of the mystery, complemented by lightness, by what is highly visible, by the known, by feelings of calmness, by feelings of safety. Now, I'm not suggesting that you place yourself in unsafe situations. I'm suggesting that when emotional disarray arises, because the body is this vessel, this conduit for absorbing what's in the environment, that's where we grow. We grow through the teachings we have in our environment. Now, when the body is responding or even reacting to something, can you sit in observation of it? Can you be present to it? Michelle, it's beautiful here. I'm feeling very blessed where I am at the moment. It is an amazing place, having amazing experiences. Thank you, Yelena. And Yelena touches on a really powerful point around illumination. We illuminate those that we meet. We illuminate our own soul. We illuminate our own being when we are able to come into connected wholeness ourselves. And it's in that connected wholeness ourselves, within ourselves, that we realize the infinite power that we hold and that we maintain. So love is something that we all feel, we all have within us. It is actually not that elusive. It's when we begin to fragment ourselves because we ignore experiences, because we perceive them to not be of value, that we lose ourselves in ourselves and therefore distance ourselves from love and the essence of what love actually is. And it's in that distancing, hello Amy, that we further ourselves from the beautiful beings in our lives, which are a really extension of ourselves. Our entire environment is an extension of who we are and what we perceive, think and feel. So we become our thoughts, we become our patterns of behavior, we become the choices we make, we become the actions that we take. And if we constantly take actions and make choices that are fragmenting, that are broken, that are ignoring or ignorant of certain experiences we feel or perceive they have no value, we close our heart rather than being able to open our heart, open our being to the possibility of wholeness. And wholeness is a direct route, a direct path towards love, towards the experience and the fullness of what love is. And only then can we define love, objectively and subjectively, once we immerse into the wholeness and the fullness of life. Only then will we realize the transformative power of love. And only then will we realize the transformative nature of moving through experiences that are actually fearful and painful, because they are simply a guide. They are simply a landmark on our map of life, on our journey of this existence. So the essence of today is, how can you sit, how can you be with everything that comes to you? How can you be with the wholeness of life? How can you be with the fullness of your being without critiquing, without judging, just simply observing, just being present to the fullness of what life brings you? How can you engage with people? How can you move through relationship in such a way that allows you to be present to the fullness of what is occurring within yourself? Because what is occurring within yourself is a cosmic stirring. The macrocosm within the microcosm, within the macrocosm, within the microcosm. The cosmos exists within you, you exist within the cosmos. Now that sounds like philosophical poetry, and to some extent it is, but it's so much more than that. because we begin to realize the largeness of who we are, and we begin to realize the smallness of who we are. So we are equally humbled while we are also in awe and in ecstasis for our being. That in and of itself becomes extremely enlightening and powerful, and allows us to be open to experiencing wholeness. It gives us or provides us with courage, it cultivates wisdom, it allows us to be resilient to the painful experiences that actually take us to a place of love. And when we are taken to a place of love, we are liberated. We are free. And it's in that freedom that we learn about who we are. Life is one big love poem. That's beautiful, Yellow. It is one big life poem. So, how can you be with everything that you are? How can you not ignore the pain? How can you not ignore the fear? Be with the fear and allow it to teach you something of depth. It's easy to be with the joy, it's easy to be with the bliss. Actually, for some people it's not. For some people it's challenging to be with the bliss as well, to be with the joy. Some people feel they're not deserving of joy, of bliss, of happiness, of wonderment. Some people believe they do not deserve to experience that depth of giving or receiving. So sometimes it's difficult to even be with the happiness. So it's about being aware and awakened to everything that we are. Being aware of every compartmentalized aspect of self that we actually consciously and unconsciously place ourselves in. We segregate ourselves, and we do that to protect ourselves. And the more we do that, the more we're in this defensive, egoic posturing, the further we distance ourselves from love, from wholeness, from openness, from emptiness. Because it's in the emptiness, when we are empty, when we surrender, when we succumb to being, literally just being. That's when we transmute limiting beliefs around our capacity to be and experience fullness of love. And that's when we relinquish a stronghold on the tension that we apply to life. Every single one of us has an opportunity to be the most grandest version of self, and we will only be the grandest version of self when we embrace the fullness and the wholeness of who we are, without compromise, without negating our authentic nature. And when you can see this, when you can be with this, when you can fully embrace this, that's when we grow. That's when we up-level ourselves. That's when we take ourselves to the next level of realization. But we cannot get there without the embracing of everything that we are. So to be whole, we must observe life in a whole way. That means we cease to segregate. We cease to divide. We cease to separate. Because it is in separation that we lose ourselves. And to find ourselves, or to be whole, we can only move in a space of openness. Open heart to everything that you are experiencing. Casper, hello my friend, how are you? So, here's a challenge for you. Whatever arises in your being, in your cognitive state of being, your cognitive state of mind, whatever arises within your heart center, within your emotional being, within your emotional body, can you just be observant of that? Can you watch that from afar? Can you feel that from a distance? And then slowly bring yourself closer to that experience. just to ensure that it's not too overwhelming too quickly, and just be with it without judgment. This directly influences our ability to remain in wholeness, to be connected to self, to move in love. And when you do this, your relationships will just go, they will improve, they will evolve, they will grow, they will connect, they will unify. Surrendering is a death. Is a death of the old and a birth of the new. And in that birthing, we transmute, we transform. Our old selves... Sorry, the mic keeps coming off. Our old selves dissipate. Our old selves fall away. Our old selves are no longer relevant. It doesn't mean they didn't serve a use. They served use. They served a place. They served a beautiful place. They allowed us to grow from that space, because we have to build upon build. We grow. Like, I use a very simple model of growth, vertical growth. Not the most ideal model, because that's a linear model, but to simplify things and just to get into that moment of understanding our growth and how we build upon levels. We cannot go to the next level without the other. We can't take a second step without taking a first step. We can't take a 20th step without taking a 19th step. So we learn and we grow along the steps of life that we take. So there's nothing wrong or there's nothing bad about moving through transient states that sometimes we look back and we go, oh, I can't believe I was that person. But embrace that person, because that person allows you to be who you are today. And in that embracing you're whole. I'm going to leave you with that, and I'm going to say, I love you. And it's a great deal of love that comes from here to there, to in here, to out there, to wherever it may be. And your challenge, if you're open to it, is to be fully present to everything that arises within you. And that is your direct path to wholeness and ultimately experience of love, of real love that is undefinable. I'm not even going to bother, not right now. So sending you love from this wonderful, magical place in the Caribbean at the moment at an enlightening conference, part of Mind Valley, and in Jamaica. I love you, Derek. Thank you, brother. And big things to come. Big things to come in terms of how we choose to move through the world, and just from a personal level, the choices I will be making, continue to make, to evolve my being, to be present to all that is occurring, and to move into a place of greater connection. Which, of course, when you do this for yourself, you influence and you impact naturally others that are in your life. What a gift. What a beautiful gift. So my gift to you, or my promise to you, is to constantly be present to all that I am. And in that, I know I shall grow and I shall evolve and I shall be. And in that being, transformation will naturally occur. If it does not, that's okay. It is being present to everything that is. Sending you lots of love from this beautiful place, and blessings on your journey. I'll see you again soon.